Congratulations on accepting your first posting at Sandy Plains State School. As a beginning teacher, straight from university, your first year out can be daunting and stressful as you learn from your mistakes and develop experiences in the profession. However, being posted to a rural and remote school hundreds of kilometers from the life you know increases the stress and brings forth its own complications and situations that you will need to find solutions for in order to become a successful country teacher. Living and teaching in rural and remote communities can be challenging if you are only used to the metro life of the city. To enable you as a beginning teacher to thrive at Sandy Plains State School, this presentation will analyze two complexities that beginning teachers will face after moving to a rural and remote community, and the solutions and strategies that can be implemented using policies, appropriate resources, and personnel that a country school teacher will be able to access. The two complexities that will be explored in this presentation are the initial integration and subsequent involvement in the community and the impact of distance and isolation upon oneself. This presentation will also discuss how these two complexities relate to educational policies, procedures and legislation, as well as the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership Standards. These two complexities have been chosen to be addressed within this presentation due to them both being major issues that teachers face and are also intertwined with each other as a teacher begins to settle into the new position, both in regards to the new location and new school. The lack of anonymity due to smaller populations can be potentially difficult challenge to face when moving to your new school, which means you also need to become fully integrated and involved in the community to create bonds, gain support from parents and key members of the community that will aid you in a successful teaching career within the town. So, you've just landed in what you may perceive as foreign land, if you are used to living in a more metro lifestyle. You are surrounded by many known unknowns, such as the new community, a new school, new people, restricted resources, and having to share a house with a colleague. By now, you will have read and understand the Queensland Department of Education and Training Standards of Practice 2016, along with the Code of Conduct for the Queensland Public Service and the Public Sector Ethics Act 1994, as it is mandatory for all education employees to implement the ethics principles, values and standards of conduct that are to be applied to our daily work. You will have also gone through the orientation checklist for relocating teachers, received an induction from the principal, met some of your staff members, and visited your classroom. When living in a small rural location such as Sandy Plains community, you need to become as inclusive as possible and actively participate in community events. The first step you should take in order to be welcomed into the community is to get to know your students' parents. Hold a meet and greet night that allows both you and them to become familiar with each other. During this time, you can explain your teaching pedagogies and share some information regarding yourself so that you can create a friendly and stable parent-teacher bond. The Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians states that schools need to engage and incorporate parents, carers, educational training providers, businesses and prominent members of the community in order to provide students with rich learning, personal and professional development, provide opportunities for students to become successful and productive members of the society. It is also a key element in the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership Professional Standards for Teaching and is covered in Standard 7, Engage professionally with colleagues, parents, carers, and the community. Specifically Standard 7.3, Engaging with parents and carers, and 7.4, Engage with professional teaching networks and broader communities. This is incorporated also into Complexity 2 as a solution to isolation. Inclusion of the community does not just affect you as a teacher, but also your students, as parents are more engaged in their students' learning and are generally more willing to become involved. Country school communities also exude a different vibe compared to larger and more metro schools. Having close connections to the community allows schools to incorporate the community as a resources that support students' learning and as a result improve the community and present a positive image for the school. Positive school image and an inclusive community results in a positive experience for you in the country schooling and also increases parents' desire to send their students to Sandy Plains, which results in teacher positions and continuation of the school. It's a win-win situation. With the ever-growing need for teachers in rural and regional parts of Queensland, your choice to become part of Sandy Plains State School will be an invaluable experience that will aid you in becoming an essential teacher and member of the community. However, living in somewhat isolated location that is foreign to you in comparison to your previous living situation and experiences can drastically affect a person physically, cognitively, socially, and emotionally, which then impacts upon the performance of the teacher both in and outside of the classroom. Roberts 2004 explains that isolation affects the teacher both emotionally and socially, as they are unable to fully connect with family and friends, which leads the teacher's desire to leave the school. With limited community resources such as retail and hospitality businesses, public spaces, and limited technology including internet and differing forms of entertainment, a newcomer may struggle to continue upholding their previous standards of living. Not being able to continue your previous standards of living can have such as having diverse options in fashion, food, and entertainment, friends and family not being close by, and forms of communication being limited based on the location and technology, can lead to more negative cognitive and emotional state. It also impacts upon your quality of teaching, your relationship with students, colleagues, and the greater community. Diet quality and diversity of nutritional foods to suit dietary requirements and palate may also be limited based on supply and demand. Isolation does not just affect the teacher's way of life, but as stated, it also affects the quality of teaching. But in this case, it is in regards to teaching resources, workload, and teaching styles. Smaller schools require teachers to accommodate for multiple year levels in one classroom. The strain this puts on a teacher physically and mentally can be great, depending on the teacher's experiences and attitude. Diverse resources that vary in age level, difficulty, and media type allow for teachers of multi-level classrooms to effectively and efficiently meet the requirements of their students' education, but this is hindered by the isolation. Teachers in rural and remote communities are not simply able to access resources that larger and more metro schools will possess, including technology such as iPads in order to access educational apps, and computer labs that accommodate for all students. Rural and remote communities do not have access to the latest and greatest technology, but in accordance with the National Framework for Rural and Remote Education, and the Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians 2008, all schools, including rural and remote schools, require equal right to technology that supports the delivery of Australian curriculum. Solutions, strategies, and supporting legislation. For the AISTL standards mentioned in regards to the chosen complexities, there are accompanying links located on the website that provide information and examples presented in media forms, including documents, videos, and downloadable information packs. It is important to consider the members of your community as a source of information that can be used to aid you in your educating your students. These important figures include the local emergency services that provide educational demonstrations. The local Indigenous elders can assist you in integrating and implementing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture within the learning in order to successfully cater for your Indigenous students and to meet the requirements of the Australian curriculum. This is also in accordance with Australian Teaching Standards 1.4, the strategies for teaching Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. The website Partners for Learning provides excellent ideas and activities that combine the school community and the greater community through inclusion. Talking to your peers is another fantastic way to integrate both the school and wider community. They can give you tips and ideas based on previous experiences to assist you. To support teachers in regards to isolation and integration into the community, Sandy Plains State School has a guidance officer who can assist beginning teachers in regards to the initial transfer and adjusting to the new environment. Generally, beginning teachers would be partnered up with more experienced colleagues to assist them, but due to high turnover in teachers at the school, this is becoming an impossibility. However, the tight-knit community of Sandy Plains means that colleagues are very open and supportive and are willing to listen to any concerns and questions that you have. Technology is another way for teachers to overcome isolation and distance and connect with family, friends, and others from outside the town. However, since Roberts 2004, technology has advanced and is slowly but surely reducing the distance between loved ones and providing access to other forms of support, including support call centers, online teacher communities where fellow teachers can share experiences, ideas, and support, as well as Skype to video chat with loved ones that are hundreds, if not maybe thousands of kilometers away. Moving to a rural and remote community can be challenging in many ways, but the strategies and solutions listed in this presentation will assist you in integrating and becoming an essential asset to the school and the greater community. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. I wish you luck in your journey through Sandy Plains State School, and I hope you have a fantastic and wonderful experience here. Links to Code of Conduct and Ethics can be found on the Department of Education and Training's website under Standards of Practice. More information can be found at the Department of Education and Training. Rural education is under the category of Rural and Remote Education, which can be found on the link, the second from the bottom. More tips and knowledge on mental health in regards to isolation can be found on the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychologists. The first link listed on the references is a direct connection to the Australian Institute of Teachers and Student Leaders. This page has been resourced from the Teaching Standards 7.1 and 7.3.